show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The electricity here in Columbia, well, has been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the raid breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina! It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherber.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home. Inside the Gamecocks, the show live from the Sinorama Studios and built by the Barndo Co. The barndominiumco.com, where you can build your dream home for as low as $160 per square foot if you're in the Carolinas, Georgia, or in Tennessee. The barndominiumco.com. Sinorama, of course, is the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics. And when you arrive at Williams-Brice Stadium here in less than 2 months, you will know why if you don't already. Phil and JB and JC is coming soon. He had a late errand that he was kind of forced into running, but he'll be here in just a little bit. Chris Phillips will also be here in about 25 minutes, 11:30. With the Spurs Up show. Next week, it is my understanding he'll be up in Nashville for SEC Media Days. The chaos will ensue, and it'll kind of unofficially get us going and ready for the 2023 SEC football season, which actually begins August 26th because Vanderbilt and Hawaii will play a week before the rest of the conference is set to get on the gridiron. So looking forward to that. We'll talk about some of the Gamecocks defense today. There are some portal nuggets to pass along with Gamecock baseball as well. And anything that's on your mind, you can put it in the chat box, and we'll make sure that we have those conversations here over the next couple of hours. With all of that said, not to interrupt your coffee, but good morning, my man, Mad Dog Molinex.
Mad Dog Molinex. I like it. That's all right. I'll wear that. That's fine. You do it, Jamie.
I think it's good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'll take it. I've been called much worse, so I mean, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
no, I'm just sitting here looking at hotel rooms and all sorts of things. I've had a busy morning. I've been to the tax office, the DMV already today. I've been extremely productive this morning.
Ooh, two places who doesn't love to be, the DMV and the tax office.
I know.
Where
This
they
is the middle
really
of the month,
care.
though. Got there early, yeah. So I was in and out, but yeah.
The
a few
DMV,
$100s later.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. You go into the DMV and you just don't ever. The people watching at the DMV is the best part about the DMV.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's sea of humanity in there.
If you want to call it that, that's for
sure. I don't know. I got our eldest is almost ready to drive here, so she's going to try to get her permit here in about 3 months. So I'll have that experience to chalk up and add to my father board. Yeah, best of luck to you, my man, and may God be with you and your family through these troubling times. That's right. That's right. So y'all look out on the mean streets of Taylor.
Yes. Everybody stay out of Taylor, South Carolina for a while. And let young Mad Dog Molinex figure it out.
That's
and
right.
Once she gets it going, we'll all be better. All right, so a couple of food items to lead off the day here. And now we're not going to be like a lot of what you would call sports radio or sports talk or whatever in the middle of July and spend 2 hours on things that people are like yeah, I get it. You're filling time. But these are newsworthy things, and they are topics. One, it is National Beans and Franks Day. Okay.
Oh.
When is the last time you had beans and Franks?
It would have been, let's see, it's been probably 8 years. I remember it well, actually. It's funny that you bring this up. I remember it well. It was one of the last meals that I got to eat with my grandfather. Yeah, it was. It was one of his favorites. Beans and Franks was one of his favorites. He was real good for a quick dinner, right? So anytime Grandma was out of town, Papa would whip up a quick dinner. So it'd be like, beans and Franks, salmon and eggs, things like that. Just something to get you by in the evening to pass you through to your, midnight snack, which he was partial to either ice cream or a nice bowl of cereal right before bed.
My man.
Yeah,
sounds like, I get it.
It was great. It was great. My lovely wife Dina was with me, so we had beans and Franks with Papa one night.
So, and I hear you, Cara Luca. I get it, pork and beans. I understand, but the national day is Beans and Franks Day, so that's why I have to say it that way. It's been a while, I know that, but there is a awesome recipe. When I realized it was Beans and Franks Day, or of course, as we would call it down here in the South, pork and beans, that has brown sugar, Worcestershire, ketchup, mustard, hot sauce, onion, a teaspoon of butter, and then, of course, you have bacon, and then you got to put your hot dogs in there. And you just cook it all together with the pork and beans can, right? And
eat
a big unhealthy pot of
cholesterol.
Beans and Franks. Yeah, well, yeah. You have a rough day. That's what you have.
Yeah,
but
that's
that's what it is. It is good. While you're eating it, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Could be a little indigestion a little bit later on, though. In addition to that, 86 years ago today, the first Krispy Kreme opened.
Oh,
thank God.
Yeah.
Now we're talking, right? And
it made the world a better place.
It sure did. My question to you is, how close is the nearest Krispy Kreme to your house?
Oh, it's about a 10-minute drive. About a 10-minute drive.
Whenever you pass by, if the hot now sign is on, do you just keep going, or do you have to stop? Because I have to stop every time.
I don't have to. Typically, because I ride that way, I'm in a hurry. We generally have somewhere to go if I'm down there. But now my wife and kids, on the other hand, are big. Hey, the hot and now sign's on. The hot and now sign's never on. Let's stop it.
Dude, it's like when I lived in Columbia, obviously the one in West Columbia, if I was ever over there and it was on, it didn't matter what time of day, had we just eaten dinner or not, none of that. You had to stop. Now it's in West Ashley, which I'm rarely down there anymore because the traffic is atrocious. But if we are and it's on, again, it's impossible to not stop. And I'll eat the whole dozen.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. That's one of the reasons why I try not to stop, because I'm the same way. I will eat them all because they just melt in your mouth. It's like they're not even 12 of them there.
It's ridiculous.
It's so good.
I can't help it. So if you feel like being really unhealthy today, a nice pot of beans and Franks followed up by maybe a donut for dinner from Krispy Kreme. Oh, and by the way, it's always a dozen glazed. I don't go off the books. No. I don't need any of that. Just give me the glazed donuts, man.
That's right. And Lord help us if it's, buy one, get one at a steep discount, because, I'm always looking for a good deal too. So it might be 2 dozen come home with me.
But I've never understood that, though. Like when they do I don't know if they're doing it this year or not. I haven't looked in the news, but generally every year, Krispy Kreme, maybe on National Donut Day, they'll do like a buy a box or buy a dozen, get a dozen free, right?
Mm-hmm.
and a dozen donuts is like what's it right now? I don't even look at it when I do it. Maybe $9.
Yeah, it's probably closer. Yeah, close $9-10. I would think.
Okay, $9-10. But like when I used to work at ESPN, and our office was right down the street, we had a Krispy Kreme. They had a Krispy Kreme. One of the managers used to commonly just drop off 3 or 4 dozen donuts at our office. And where she would bring them back to the kitchen was right where Bobby Harton and I had our offices. We were on the other side of the building. And so Bobby and I would always smell them first. So we're like, let's get in there before the rest of the staff knows that they're here, you know. So we go in there and clean house on a dozen or so of these things. And it was great. But when I first started working at ESPN, my office was I didn't have a window at the time. And then I got moved over to the window side. And so we are on the other side of our parking lot. There was a building. Actually, it was an IHOP, which was dangerous until they closed it. Thank God. Or I'd be 400 pounds. And then is Highway 17. And when I first started working there, I was trying to figure out why this only happened one time. And then they told me, of course. I said, there must be a wreck on 17. The traffic was a mile long. I mean, more than that. It was all the way back to 526. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. So you're talking about a couple of miles. Turns out the traffic was backed up onto 526, like to get off onto 17. That was the line. And I'm sure there were some people who were stuck in it thinking that there was just hey, JC, thinking that there was just a wreck or something up there. That was the line for people who were sitting to get a dozen free donuts with the purchase of their other dozen. And so I was like, I finally I can't remember who told me in the office. I said, there must be a wreck out there. And I kept looking and thinking, man, this is bad. And then finally they said, no, that's the line for Krispy Kreme. I said, you got to be freaking kidding me. For donuts? Well, it's buy one, get one free day. I said, I ain't sitting in a line for an hour to save $10 on a dozen donuts. There's no way. I'll just wait till tomorrow for my donuts. Like, I don't have to have them right now. They probably burned $10. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, was the sign, you accompany that with the sign on, it's probably Mad Max out there on 17, you know.
Thundered up.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't need another Phil, we don't need another hero, man.
No. Well, I mean, dude, like, I understand a good deal. Okay. We've got kids. We're always looking to save money. Everybody is. I get that. Hell, not to make a Justin Smoke reference here, but hats off to him and his family. They still grocery shop on Wednesday because that's when the best deals are. You know, and he's made a ton of money in the big leagues. So we all appreciate a good deal. I ain't one who's sitting in the truck for 2 hours burning all of the money and gas and I'm going to wait to save on a dozen donuts at Krispy Kreme. Not happening. So hats off to Krispy Kreme. It's a killer, and I love them. And it's a killer, it's a killer marketing effort and promo in the whole 9 yards. And they bait a lot of people into it. Not me. No way.
But now they've got an app. So you download the Krispy Kreme app, and it will tell you when your local Krispy Kreme has the light on.
Really?
Yes.
That's stupid. I better not download that.
Yeah, I was like, don't download it. No.
Nah. Well, I mean, to JC's point though, was the hot and now sign on it. Well, if you're like in the example I just gave, if you're just getting off of 526, how on planet Earth are they still going to? I mean, I know that they're just constantly making them, and that's got to be hell on wheels for the employees that day. But there's no way that when you get that everybody is getting hot and readies, right?
Depends on their conveyor belt capacity and dough,
right?
Dough manifestation, and
they only do the original glaze. Like you can't go in there and get a dozen of
you can't get the
chocolate covered or okay.
Yeah, get
eclairs
mixed. No.
Yeah.
It's got to be the hot.
Yeah, it's kind of funny we're having a donut discussion and it's Richard Simmons' 75th birthday.
Well, it's
You're not going to find that on a deal a meal card.
So Richard Simmons was born 11 years after Krispy Kreme was born, because that's why I started talking about it. Today's Krispy Kreme's 86th birthday.
So it's their birthday and Richard Simmons' birthday at the same time.
Yeah. So if you're born on July 13th, I mean,
that is rich.
You're killing it. You know, if July 13th
guys,
is your day.
Richard Simmons, man, you gotta love him. You know, he'd sit there and cry.
That's the second Richard Simmons reference we've had on this show. I referenced him a couple of weeks ago. Now I can't remember.
I was going to say, was it this week or was it maybe right before we went on vacation? Yeah,
before we went on break.
And I just saw it on Twitter. Like he released a rare statement because I think he went into hiding. You know, that kind of thing. He's been in hiding.
Yeah, he did turn up missing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the New York Post kind of stalks him like they do, and so I followed the Post on Twitter, and I just saw he released a rare statement today. You think it's because he got fat again?
I don't know.
We've all been there. I'm in the middle of that right now, so I'm going to release a statement on my birthday, saying I'm going to put a lawsuit against Portillo's beef sandwiches. But no, well, yeah, I mean, you know, he was fat, and that's kind of his story. Then he got thin.
Yep. And
very enthusiastic, and cried on TV a lot, and then he went away. You know, I don't know. The psychology of Richard Simmons is a fascinating topic. But,
yeah,
you know, we probably waited. I love that story though, JB. Was there a wreck? No, it's the line for buy one, get one at Krispy Kreme.
Dude, I couldn't believe it.
I came in right when you were telling that. I was like, that's one of the funniest things I've heard all day.
Well, and IHOP was a big winner in this because they're on the way to Krispy Kreme. So there's a lot of people who are like, F this crap. I'm just going to go get an omelet.
Go get some crepe Suzette or something. Yeah. So anyway, that is nuts.
So hats off to Krispy Kreme and happy birthday. And I apologize to everybody for spending the first 15 minutes of our morning together with telling old Krispy Kreme war stories from the hellhole that was that building that I worked in.
Hey, the Krispy Kreme in Spartanburg, the old one is a landmark. They're never tearing it down.
No, well, I mean the one in
the one near the auditorium. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, JC? Speaking of Spartanburg, my neighbor, I've mentioned them before, who moved here from Idaho. They're the kindest, coolest people on the planet. He's a truck driver. And so he's been, I'll text him oftentimes just to see where, and it's amazing. I never really knew exactly how truck drivers' schedules work out. You know, they only have a certain number of hours they can be on the road each day. Then you absolutely have to shut it down and stop wherever you are, period, the end. And so he was just in Reading, PA earlier this week and stuff. But he, a couple of weeks ago, he said he got home. I said, well, where were you? He said, well, I got up this morning and had to take a load to Spartanburg, fiddled around for a few hours while, you know, they drop off he carries liquids and he drops it off and then he can go do whatever. I said, well, you got to go to the Beacon. He said, the Beacon. Okay, I'll write that down. I said, no, you got to go. Now look here, if you got a 3-hour ride home, I might be giving you bad advice, but if you're planning to kind of stick around for a while or something like that, like don't just pick it up and get in the truck and start driving. You're gonna have to pull over. But you know, if you got some time, you got to go to the Beacon. So I kind of filled him in on the Beacon, and next time he's in Spartanburg, which I think is going to be soon. He said he'll make it at least an early stop.
Crazy about your Beacon philosophy there, because it's true. I mean, it's like
it's very true.
It's like Sex Panther. 60% of the time it works 40% of the time. But no, it's actually like 98%. Yeah. Last time I was at the Beacon, though, you remember I went to that funeral, unfortunately, in February. Drove to Spartanburg. So on the way out of town, my mom's like, let's meet up. And so, okay, we're going to meet up. It was a Saturday. We were going to go to Wade's, which may be the best meet and three I've ever been to in my life. People in Nashville brag about the meet and three. Their macaroni and cheese is soupy, whatever. Wade's is off the chisel. Okay. Wade's is closed on Saturdays. So I was like, well, I got to take Nat somewhere since we're here in my hometown. Although we did meet in Spartanburg, I wasn't able to take her to the landmarks, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, well, we're going to the Beacon. And dude, we drove all the way to Gatlinburg, right around Bat Cave, North Carolina, going up 26. The Montezuma Beacon, the Beacon's Montezuma's Revenge hit me a little bit. But after that, all the way that windy road going down 40 and all the way up over the Blue Ridge, not the Blue Ridge Parkway, but the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. You get in that way, you kind of go through the parkway. I was fine. I was like, I think all the food I've been eating up here has like lined my stomach with a protective coating against the Beacon.
You become immune to the effects, after a while, after years and years of eating it and stuff like that.
Yeah. And Daryl, the chat box is spot on. Since they've sold it, it's not the same without Mr. White working there. But I couldn't even find that. They didn't have a T-shirt I could buy. I was going to buy a T-shirt. I do. If you notice back here in the background, those of you that are watching on video, if you look below the Inside the Gamecocks, the show poster back there, there's a Beacon menu I have up there that I snagged. But I couldn't even find a T-shirt, man.
No merch? What?
No merch. I'm like, this is a land. This is a famous place. They have billboards all over the country. So, anyway, almost time for Chris, I guess.
Yeah, we'll step aside. Just said Carol Luca's right. Got to plan around the beak. The chili cheese aplenty though. It's I won't finish that, but yeah, I hear you. We yeah, that's right.
Howard said that. Grade, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
But no, when I was in 8th grade, I was 158 pounds. After a football game, last football game of the year, they take us to the Beacon. I ate an entire chili cheese aplenty. I ate someone else's onion rings, and we got a pig's dinner, the dessert with 12 scoops of ice cream and all the Sunday toppings.
Right.
I polished about half that off of my teammates, and I was hungry later. I was the height I am now. I was 6 feet tall then, 158. I was all head, but on top of my shoulders. But but I'm astonished when I look back to that, and I'm like, perhaps I should have, taken it easy a little bit because I think I developed some bad habits.
Took advantage of that youthful metabolism. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'd give anything to have that again. But unfortunately, that's not it. I didn't get the aplenty last time. I did get a chili cheese and some onion rings. That
plenty.
That was about it.
Well, as we hit a timeout again, happy National Beans and Franks Day to all who will celebrate. And this is very underrated, by the way. Probably if you've actually been to a real one, you'll know what we're talking about. If you haven't in a while, you won't. It is also National Barbershop Music Appreciation Day. And that is a very underappreciated type of music, by the way. Barbershop music used to be the jam. So hats off to all the barbershop owners in America. Quick timeout. When we return, Chris Phillips with the Spurs Up Show. We'll be here to get into some Gamecock football. We are teed up by travelingcountryclub.com. Good luck to all of you who play in the Plunder on Polly's coming up this weekend. Be right back. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're in the real estate market in the Low Country or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. You hear me and see me every day here on Inside the Gamecocks, and it would be an honor to earn your business. I've been around real estate my entire life, as it's somewhat of a family business. I work with an elite team of experts from loans to insurance to closing, and they make my clients and my life very easy. It really is elite. Coast to Coast Realty SC.com is where you can find our staff, and you can always reach out to me here as well. Go Gamecocks.
Coach O here. And when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight off the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer. Go Tiger.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barn Dough Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
Welcome to TravelingCountryClub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to TravelingCountryClub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. In July, we're excited to bring to you the 3rd annual Plunder on Pawleys 2-day golf tournament, with rounds played at Caledonia and True Blue golf courses in the heart of Pawleys Island. Head to TravelingCountryClub.com to register for that event, and it is not exclusive to TCC members, but to become one, you can sign up and bring to life your golf game. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, TravelingCountryClub.com, TravelingCountryClub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
Be long, y'all.
Lights.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. First hour of the show presented to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call at 864-414-5271 for all your Upstate residential real estate needs. And we're joined now on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by none other than Chris Phillips. Chris, good to have you back after a week off here that we took last week, and looking forward to you being up, your coverage up in Nashville next week.
Yeah, for sure. JB, JC, Phil, appreciate you guys having me on, and really excited, man. I actually just saw right before we jumped on, the SEC announced that Greg Sankey has agreed to a contract extension through 2028. So the best commissioner, I would say, in college football is here to stay, and exciting stuff. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to get to Nashville. Obviously, first trip, and what better place? I was joking with JC earlier in the week that, I could have been stuck in Birmingham. So I'm excited either way, but never been to Nashville either. So getting to explore that city and then taking in the event's going to be a lot of fun.
First time I went to Nashville, the Gamecocks.
No disrespect to Birmingham, by the way. No disrespect.
Oh, no. I mean,
in Birmingham, they love the governor. So anyway. I am full of quotes today.
Birmingham is cold in December. I know that.
Yeah.
Gamecocks brought me to Nashville the first time. I went in 2004 for the openers. First time I'd been there, and it's so and when I lived there 7 years, twice, 4 years once, 3 years the other, but. It's a city that when I lived there and visited there, it makes you feel good. It's kind of got a good vibe to it. I don't know, as crowded as it is now, how good the vibe is, but I definitely wish you the best. And the only other place I've lived longer than I've lived in South, or as long as and when I've lived outside of South Carolina, Nashville's the longest place I ever stuck. So, and I'm quickly approaching Chicago as being that, but Nashville.
Well, and I'll say this too, I got a neighbor who's up there now, and he was asking me. He's never been either, and he was asking me about. He was asking me about recommendations, this, that, and the other, and of course, if I'll always recommend my man Patrick Davis's two bars, but those are not on the Strip, and a lot of people think the Bluebird's on the Strip, and it's not. So if you've never been, just enjoy the Strip, just do it because you got to do it. And all the bars are sweet. But the one thing that I will say, which would be hard for you to do if you're going to be, kind of in and out with media days, the best time to hang out at the bars in Nashville is in the day because there's no lines and stuff. It's easy to get in and out. And, so if you get a day or you get some time, I'd say swoop down there in the afternoon and enjoy the rooftops and stuff. It is neat, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the plan is to stay pretty busy with, all the coaches and everything and the players. And I tell you this, I'm really excited, obviously, to get to see these guys in person, the players, the coaches, what have you, but really excited to meet a lot of the people that I've had on the show or have on the show weekly that I've never met in person. Like Jake Crane's going to be there. JD Piquel, obviously some people that I've been fortunate enough to speak with on a daily basis or pretty often, and I've just never met in person. So that, and definitely going to hit up Patrick Davis, man. He's a friend of the show. We had him back on in the 2020 football season, I think. So definitely going to check out the bars and his stuff and link up with him. But
he's not even there.
He's not there anymore.
Well, no, he is, but he's not going to be there next because we're supposed to get up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I called him. Okay.
I said, "Look, I'm not worried about these other chumps, but if I come up, I'm staying at your house." And he was like, "Well, you can stay at my house, but we'll be gone, so you got to take care of the dogs." I was like, "Damn it!" So maybe hit up Haney.
Okay, whatever. Mind. Okay, gotcha.
Haney should be there, or let's see who you could call, like Eric Church or Brooks and Dunn.
No big deal. No big deal.
Hey, Brooks.
Yeah,
me, Chris.
Yeah, for sure. That guy.
Where's Dunn? Anyways, yeah. Well, that have a blast. It's a great town and it's a lot of fun. One of the things that is I think going to increasingly start being talked about pretty much a month from now. Once they've practice, I think begins August 4th, if my memory serves correct here, and then we'll get about a week or two into it. I'm anticipating, and this is for everybody, it's an open discussion, but Chris, you're the guest, so you'll lead off here. I am anticipating an abundance of attention on South Carolina's linebacking core in August. It's hard for me to believe that this group is not better than not just last year, but the last few years pretty much combined. And so I want to get your thoughts on that because it's really been something that's been scrutinized. And you know what we've had, guys? We've had guys that you had to get all the juice you could out of them the last couple of years in order to kind of maintain. I mean, think about Damani and Sherrod Green and these guys who we loved watching them play, but they literally had to get everything out of them in order to make themselves successful out there. A little bit more talent now, bigger bodies, more natural guys that fit in the SEC.
Yeah, JB, I'd say this. I think the linebacking core has the opportunity potentially to be the most improved position unit from maybe last year to this year when we look back at season's end. I mean, you look at the talent overhaul. We talk all the time about the way they're recruiting offensive line, defensive line. They've added some pretty good ones at the linebacker position as well. Obviously, you point straight to Pup Howard. He was so excited to get to Carolina. He jumped in literally in bowl practice. So, I mean, this is a dude by now. Heck, he's hardly even a freshman at this point. But I mean, he's going to figure in the rotation. Obviously, getting Mo Kaba back from injury, if you can get him at 100%, which I imagine he will be 100%, that is huge. That was a huge loss for the defense last year. Debo Williams comes back with a lot of experience. You need Stone Blanton to take that next step, a guy like Donovan Westmoreland to come along, and there are others as well. But, you know, they're changing that position and recruiting for sure. Also, I didn't even mention Jerron Willis, the transfer portal pickup coming over from Ole Miss. So I definitely think the talent is improving because you look at the linebacker position, guys, it's felt like to me over the last couple of years, you kind of always had that one guy like an Ernest Jones, TJ Brunson, Sherrod Green, but just as a whole, and when it comes to depth, and for whatever reason, the linebacker position has just been kind of an eyesore. You know, we focus on when we talk about the front seven, we put all that focus on the defensive line and the run game, the run defense, I should say, being porous, but the linebacker position, man, just has not held its own. So a guy like, I think if Stone Blanton can take that next step, he was a dude that, you know, made a lot of great plays last year, but you definitely saw the Florida game sticks out where he had a couple of plays where, you know, you could tell he was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshman out there. So if he takes the next step, I think the talent in that room is improving. And I would expect the same, JB, that I think that unit has the opportunity to be a much improved unit from last year and from the last couple of years for sure.
Guys, JC, I know you've mentioned this before. Do you think that there is still a possibility that we could see it's a stretch when I say it like this, but you can maybe a little bit better describe it, kind of more like a 3-4, where you are utilizing what we'll call it the buck position, but it's not really a buck. It's more of like a flyer position out there. Is that something? Because if that's a unit that can become a strength, and you feel like those are your best football players, Clayton White wants to get them on the field, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still call it the buck. And I don't know whether they called it that because Mike Peterson was a holdover or what, but that terminology is still around with this defense. And, you know, there's a lot of concepts that Clayton runs that are similar to the Muschamp, Saban, Smart defense, but it's they don't put as much on their safeties mentally. I mean, it's kind of a streamlined version of that scheme. And, I think if you go 3-man, it's probably because you're just not confident in Jordan Strawn and Jasis Jeer or Terrell Dawkins or Terry Johnson or whoever.
How about Brian Thomas, by the way, in that group? I think Alex mentioned
that's more of a 3-4 buck kind of guy. That guy, he's undersized as an end, but he's big for a space player in space as a linebacker. And I thought he looked really good in the spring game, kind of in that role. Mm-hmm. I don't think you're going to notice a noticeable change in terms of 3-man versus 4-man. I mean, they're not going to go out there and run a bare front or a 50 or whatever. It's going to be kind of a hybrid, and they'll go back and forth, sort of like they've been doing around here since Muschamp got here. And Lorenzo Ward tried and failed one season to do. But I think there's a reason Shane Beamer hired Clayton White as his D coordinator, because Clayton White does a lot of different things similar to kind of Bud Foster at Virginia Tech. And if you remember Bud Foster's defense until his later years, and then they had one shining moment at Ohio State where he game planned all summer and just stopped them. That was a defense where they didn't always have the 6'6" defensive ends and the 330-pound D tackles, but they had guys that go play football, and they would knock you into next week and get people stopped because of versatility, creativity, position versatility, uniqueness in how they utilize their linebacker, quote unquotes. So I think there's a reason he's got the job and what he runs and all that. I think it's just going to depend. I think that is 100% on the edge defensive end / buck position. Because I think if you do that, JB, and you start running more 3-man, so what's that going to be? So TJ Sanders or Nick Barrett's going to slide in at the 50 of the zero technique, or Xavier McLeod. So right. Boogie and Tonka become big ends. Brian Thomas better be able to rush the passer, and then whoever's on the other side, be it Debo Williams, Pup Howard, whoever, better too in the 4 linebacker set, because you're taking Jordan Strawn off the field, who's probably going to be your best linebacker. So I think it's going to be a hybrid. I think you're going to see noticeably some 3-man stuff, but it probably won't be what we're all thinking, where here comes a big nose tackle and, he's flanked by 2 guys that would be playing inside in a 4-3. I'm sorry to talk that long while we have a guest, but that's something that I actually, believe it or not, JB, was thinking about today when I woke up this morning. I wrote it down here. So that's I'm glad I got that out of my system.
Great minds think alike, and apparently all wear black because we're all doing that today. But it is an interesting point. Like, if you remember the old school defenses in the SEC, Chris, where especially Georgia, Alabama, the big boppers, for the first time, and I don't even know how long, I feel like if you had that, which you won't, but if you had something like that at South Carolina and you had Pup and Mo and Stone Blanton, that's what SEC linebackers look like.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to see.
I think that could be as good of a group you've had since, I think back to, when was the last time you had true, like, a complete set of linebackers? Maybe like Shaq Wilson, the Brinkleys, Eric Norwood type. It's been a while. Like, I joked about this on the show, but it's true. South Carolina and different schools, right? You tout your school as, well, we're DBU, we're tight end U, we're wide receiver U, quarterback U. Like, South Carolina is definitely not linebacker U for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm not saying they haven't had really, really good ones, but it's just not a position I've ever looked at where I'm like, that is a strength of the football team. We're relying on our linebackers. I don't know if it goes back to recruiting or just bad luck. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like Carolina, I have not, at least in recent memory, I haven't gone in a season and been like, man, we are just loaded at linebacker. I
agree with that.
I don't know.
I think
there's always one guy. There's always one guy going back to like Sky Moore, again, Ernest Jones, TJ Brunson, Sherrod. Like, you've had guys, but you just haven't had that full set of guys. And when you lose Kaba last year, and that really showed, I thought, last year.
Well, it was
the duo thing. I'd go with Sky and TJ recently. Before that, though, if you want a pair, I'd have to go back to Kenny Harney and Body Bags Wadley and Kalimba Edwards in 2000.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
Because as good as Jasper Brinkman
20 years ago,
who else was playing linebacker with him? Cap was a DN.
DN.
I guess if you counted Norwood as a linebacker at that time, and he kind of was under Tyrone Nix, and then played more down when Ellis got here. But yeah. I'd have to go back to Body Bags and Kenny Harney, to where I looked at it when South Carolina's got 2 stud linebackers. Now, but guys there's been so many like blue collar dudes though that just play their butts off. Shaq Wilson, you mentioned, Rodney Paulk was like that. So we'll see.
Well, and those two, like all the names that you just mentioned, and I mean this like in a very good way. Those guys worked their asses off to get where they were. Like, they were not hot shot Reuben Foster 4- and 5-star linebackers that just walked into the locker room and it was like, oh, well, that guy's going to kill somebody. But when Pup came to Carolina, when Mo committed to Carolina, everybody remembers the recruitment of Stone Blanton, how big of a win that was to get him on Mississippi. It's still incredible they did that. Those are all guys that we felt like would be early impact guys. You could tell last year that Stone Blanton was just a freshman. He was just trying to figure it out. But I'm anxious to see that group together.
Yeah, sure. And you need them to come along, man, because, again, we spend so much time talking about the D-line and Travion Robertson taking over. That's a huge story. The run defense has just got to get better. That's the most, the most common sense thing when looking at the defense. 198 yards per game allowed last season. So, there are a lot of question marks in the defense for sure. I think you're replacing a lot of production. I think I heard somebody say you replace 6 of 8 in your front 7 when it comes to snap count. So, you lose a lot of experience up there. But I will say this, guys, because admittedly a couple of months ago, I wasn't feeling all that great about the defense. I thought the offense might be a little bit better. Defense might take a step back, and South Carolina would kind of be similar to what they were. I'm feeling a little bit better about the defense. You go out and you get a gear from the transfer portal. You hear things about the linebacker position. I'm feeling a little bit better about, the guys, Marcellus Dial, O'Donnell Forch on the outside. And, of course, the back end, you're as good as anybody with Eamon Warrior and Smith. My biggest thing is this. You got to stay healthy, number one. I don't think the defense, you can afford any type of major injuries. I don't know that the depth is really there. And that pass rush, I think going into North Carolina, we're going to talk a lot about stopping the run, but the pass rush, I think early on, especially as, Dial takes over as cornerback number 1, Fortune at the second spot, David Spalding at the nickel, You need that pass rush because you're facing some high-flying offenses in the first half of the season. I mean, UNC out the gate, Georgia's going to kind of do what they want. I know they have a new quarterback, but they've got the most loaded wide receiver room they've ever had, most likely. Mississippi State's going to throw the football, not air raid anymore, but you got one of the best quarterbacks in the conference in Will Rogers. And then we all know what Tennessee's going to do, right, with Joe Milton and that Heupel offense. So that secondary is going to be tested. It's been so good for Carolina, in the first 2 seasons under Torian Gray. And, I mean, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt at this point that he's going to get the most out of guys like Dial and Fortune on the outside, that entire secondary. But it goes without saying, man, you got to have the pass rush out there to help because these are quarterbacks you're facing in the first half. If they have time to throw, don't care how good your secondary is. I mean, any of these SEC quarterbacks, but especially the ones you face in the first 6 games, they're going to pick you apart if you can't get in the backfield.
Yeah, I agree with that. Is there a glue guy that y'all have in mind? Like, who's the glue guy for this defense?
I mean, I think you got to go level by level. I mean, I would go Tonka Hemingway up front. I mean, I think he is that dude. I think at the second level, I'd go Mo Kaba. You need him to stay healthy. And then the back end is Nicky Mawari. I mean, that's, if I go level by level, Tonka Hemingway, I think, is the leader of the defense. And that's something that JC mentioned. And I think E-Man will be that dude probably next year, but Tonka's that veteran on the defensive side. I think he'll be, the leader of that defense. So, those would be my guys, I think, is the quote unquote glue guys at each of the 3 levels. And I
think Tonka, Tonka, Brian Thomas, guys like this who they're not positionless, but they're versatile, I guess would be the word. And so I'll be interested to see what they do early in the season with those guys, how they utilize them down and distance, those type things. I mean, Clayton White's pretty good about that. I mean, he's pretty smart about those type of things. And I know that they're, as you just mentioned, matter of fact, I got this question yesterday morning from Bill and Preston on 107.5 The Game. What's more important, stopping the run or running the football? I think it's stopping the run.
Yeah.
I think it's way more important than running the football. I think this offense will be able to generate points. But if they can't stop the run, they have to beat somebody they're not supposed to beat every single year in order to win more games than people think that they can win. And you cannot do that unless you can stop the run.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a helpless feeling when you can't stop the run. I mean, it just is, man, because you can't do anything else, right? You can't do anything else. And I mean, we talked a lot about the late, great Brad Lawing, and I remember talking to him about the pass defense. The first year of Beamer, it was ranked, number 1 in the SEC, I believe, top 10 nationally in college football. And he literally told me, he said, Chris, as a defensive coach, you should never brag about your pass defense because all you're saying is that we can't stop the run. That's all you're saying. So, I mean, and it's taking nothing away, but I was like, wow. I mean, that just, because to the point, if teams can run the football, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to run the football. There's way less risk in handing it off and getting 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards a carry. And, you saw what happened last year against Florida, and you saw again those games. We've all seen it where South Carolina has just been at a deficit up front, and it's it's been a very long afternoon or night, if you will. So I mean, I think obviously the way they're recruiting, we talk about it on offense, same thing with defense, man. The way they're recruiting, Shane Beamer knows it's a priority. I really admire the way that he's recruiting because he understands. I mean, listen, he's been at Georgia, he's been around programs where it's like you look at the dudes they have up front. I mean, that's why we just had Wes Blankenship on the show this morning, and he's talking about they've got 5 veteran offensive linemen. Their tackles are guys that have played already so many games, and they've got that experience up front, offensively, defensively. That's what Beamer's trying to build, but it just takes time. You know what I mean? So I think they'll slow down the run better this year, just because I don't think you can do worse than 198 yards per game. And I believe in Travian Robertson, and I believe in what he's going to do at Carolina. I'm not saying that 5 consecutive seasons, guys, Carolina's finished 11th or worse in rush defense in the SEC. Is it better than 11th? I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe it is. But I got to think they make some strides and some improvements in that area this year. Just, if nothing else, because of the fresh blood from Travian and a focus on that, because that's all we're talking about going into the season.
I think if you're in the top half of the SEC in rush defense this year, that got you an extra win.
Massive victory. That is a massive victory.
Yeah,
I would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you beat somebody. I mean, it's a league that's increasingly throwing the football, as we well know, but that also has contributed to guys who've been able to run it well. So, yeah. it's.
I mean, JB, I was going to say we've seen it firsthand for South Carolina on the other side. I mean, when the Gamecocks run the ball well, they typically win. I mean, if you go back and look at the stats, I don't have them up in front of me, but like if you look at games where South Carolina has 100 or more rushing yards or 150 plus, like the winning percentages are crazy. So, I mean, it just goes without saying, if you can stop the run, well, you're probably going to have a lot of success. So, I mean, it's much easier said than done. You're going up against these big physical offensive lines. And, you know, I mentioned that on the show is like, you know, UNC, I don't think they have the bodies to really, really test you. Furman's obviously going to be a win. We're going to learn a lot in Athens, man, week 3. It's a lot of fans are looking at that as sort of the measuring stick. I don't know if that's really fair because of where Georgia is. They're so much farther ahead of everybody. But I think it'll be very clear where you still have areas to improve, ways to go in regards to the trenches.
Well, and I'll say this, and we all know this. If you don't have to be a football expert to understand this, there is literally, and JC, you've said this time and time again, as a fan, if you're at home, the atmosphere, if you're on the road, the atmosphere, if you're on the sideline, everybody, there is nothing, I don't know of anything more deflating in football than when you can't stop the run. It is the most helpless, loserish feeling that there is known to man when it's 2nd and 3. You know, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, everybody gets up 6-7 yards. Like if you can't stop that, you feel like a loser. You really do. You're like, well, you know.
I mean, think of Florida last year. I mean, that was a game where I was just finding myself laughing in the second quarter because it became so comical, right? I'd rather laugh than cry. I mean, that exactly what you're describing is what happened in that Florida game last year. So,
or like Arkansas in 07.
Well, you know, Darren McFadden maybe is a different story. That Florida team last year.
Don't forget Felix Jones. He ran for 400 yards too.
Could never forget. Could never. South Carolina has definitely had a way of sparking. I mean, this is a whole separate conversation. Sparking these Heisman campaigns. I mean, you talk about Darren McFadden, the Wild Hog. What about Mark Ingram in Tuscaloosa in 09? He did the same thing. So, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, man. Yeah. If you want to win
we could go down that rabbit hole for sure.
If you want to win an award, yeah, there you go. You know, old Kenny Trill, and I mean, we can name them all day. I don't know how many times over the years I've heard so-and-so had his personal best record against South Carolina. Son of a. We're plastered in every record board in the SEC, but it is what it is. Chris, we know you got to run. You got a show to get to. Have a safe but fun trip to Nashville, and if you happen to squeeze one in, best of luck with Nick Saban.
I will do my very best.
Ask something intelligent.
I'll probably get my credentials revoked after I drop my graphic today where I've picked Bama to go 9-3 this season. So wish me best of luck. So.
You're going to get the hands.
Bringing rat poison to Nashville.
I'm bringing the rat poison. We're bringing it to Nashville. JC, JB, Phil, I appreciate you boys. We'll do it again next week.
Man. Thank you.
Thanks.
There you go.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, just an over-under. Let's say, I don't know, 500 personal records that have been set against Gamecock football over the years. Or in baseball, like, this guy's never struck this many guys out in a game. Oh, really? How many has he struck out? 14. Well, what was his previous best? 3. Oh.
All right. Yeah. You got to turn that around. You got to be
able to laugh it off.
I mean, you know, stopping the run or the inability to do so is really what turned the bowl game around for Notre Dame. Yeah. You know,
that's exactly right.
Hand it off. You know,
and
I know it was a shell of a team, but it's like that's our most recent outing. So, you know,
and Carolina
don't need any recency bias to see. Yeah, no, couldn't run it, can't stop it. You're gonna have a long day.
We talked about that after the game. I mean, and I maintained this ever since then, that the better football team that they won, Carolina had the magical moments. The pass and the throw and catch in the end zone to Xavier Legette, as he told me back in April. There were so many magical moments, the pick six, by fortune, this, that, and the other. But the better team that day, regardless of who was on the field, of course, we all understand Lloyd had ditched him and, all that type of stuff. They won. They ran the football and stopped it. Carolina couldn't do anything about it. So,
nope. Yeah, terrible mix if you're trying to win a football game.
Yeah, it is. I think the fix, by the way, for bowl games should be you qualify for the bowl game and then you play it to open the following year. So you have all your guys. How about that?
That's an interesting thought. Just let the playoffs stand alone in the postseason and then play the bowl games.
You play your bowl game to open the following season.
To affect your record or no?
Yeah. It'll affect the following year's record. I just threw that out there. I don't know. I mean,
it'd be interesting.
I'd play the spring game or play it. I would actually go with like 2 sets of bowls. And I know what you're talking about, JB. Like maybe you have you play all the bowl games in week 0. Because people are going to want more open dates now that they have the expanded playoff. And maybe you talk to some of these bowl sites and you say, all right, we're going to do 2 games now. One, we're going to have our standard bowls, and then we're going to get the heavy hitters together for bowl games, moving, in the opener, and we're going to determine those matchups by how you played last year. Kind of like the preseason NIT and the postseason NIT.
Yeah. You know how many people would travel to open the season versus traveling like on, I don't know, Christmas? I would rather go watch them play in Birmingham in late August than go on December 27th to Birmingham.
Well, especially if it doesn't take away a home game. Right now, a lot of fan base, and I know this for sure about Alabama, because I hear it in South Carolina. You also hear it. They're wanting more homes because you think, well, why? It's fun to go to neutral site games. Well, but think about the people that go to every home game. That takes away a fun weekend, And then sometimes your home schedule sucks because your best non-conference game is, if you're Alabama, it was Louisville and Orlando, and then the Western teams you get. If Auburn's bad, you don't really have any good teams at home. So, but I think as long as they kept everything kosher with that, I think, man, big blockbuster week 0 bowl time, it'd be pretty cool.
Be something. You already have a blockbuster end of the year with all the rivalries, and then you'd have the 12-team playoff following that. Just saying. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure things out here. Nobody else seems to want to do it, so why not let us have a stab at it?
That's right.
We'll see what we can do around here. All right, it's noon. Hour 1 is in the books. We're painted garnet and black by the best damn painters in the state of South Carolina and in the state of Georgia. LetMePaintSomething.com, a couple of painters LLC. We are glad to be partnered with them, and they paint our show garnet and black as we're all representing today, every day. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Can't wait to be back on campus in South Carolina. Welcome back to our program, Inside the Gamecocks, the show live from the Sinorama Studios and powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston. You don't have to live in the Low Country to check out their website, electricbikescharleston.com, and power your way anywhere you are, especially in this heat. Who the hell wants to walk or actually ride the bike? Just cut the motor on. electricbikescharleston.com. Thank you, Michelle, and all of her staff and family for what they do in keeping South Carolina moving. Joel actually brought up an interesting point here, and we may have talked about this before. I have heard it thrown around. It's not a bad idea to pay, JC, you alluded to this not long ago, to be able to pay bonuses, have the bowls basically pay that out. I think it would keep. You go ahead.
Continue. No, I want to finish hearing what you had to say.
No, I think it would. If you opt out, you don't get the bonus, right? So now there's going to be some guys who are like, well, I'm already going to make $10 million and I don't care. But then there's some guys who think they're going to make $10 million and don't. And, they'll get that check if they play in the game. Am I off?
No. Here's the problem. The NCAA, with the one thing they can regulate is like you can't pay to participate in a game. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. People just chirp, pay for play. And at all levels of amateurism, you do want to avoid that, even the Olympics, that kind of thing. But what people have to understand is when you talk about name, image, and likeness, and you're talking about an extra game, and you're talking about, bowl games, I've never thought they were meaningless. I think you always want to win them. They're part of college football, that kind of thing. But you're not playing for a championship of anything or anything other than the bowl. They count with your record, but they're basically exhibitions, so to speak, or glorified exhibitions. And so I think they're fundamentally different. And I think that's why, kids opt out, because it's like, okay, well, we're not playing for a title. So we'll go like this. The other part of it is this, and this is why I completely think the NCAA's ruling here, which is meant to protect themselves and the schools from having to give up a piece of the TV money. And that's all there is to it. I think here's the deal. Why do we have bowls still? It's not like the good old days where you had a guy like they called captain or colonel that smoked a cigar and dressed like Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard. And he went around and scouted the bowls, or Danny. But this is Danny Montgomery. That's my brother Larry, and we're on the fresh citrus diet right bowl over there in Mobile, and we're here to scout your team, and you cut these side deals. Speaking of which, one went back terribly wrong for South Carolina in '84. They told the Sugar Bowl they weren't coming. They're like, we want the Orange Bowl, and then the Gator Bowl was their backup plan. The Sugar Bowl invites somebody else. Gamecocks lose to Navy, blah blah blah. So they couldn't on the Sugar Bowl that year. It's not like that anymore. It's straight up the conferences, ESPN, the schools, they decide. And so why do we have them? Obviously tickets don't sell as well to bowls as they once did. Last year's Gator Bowl notwithstanding. It has to be a special matchup in a place your team hadn't been in a while to sell those kind of tickets. And so, so why do we still have them? There's the question. Why not just 24 teams in the playoff like they do for FCS? That's basically the top 25. Everybody else goes home after Thanksgiving. Here's why. And Mike Morgan's explained this.
Yeah, exactly.
College football bowl games have higher ratings than
everything.
A Duke, North Carolina level NCAA basketball game during that time of year.
The NBA.
The NBA Christmas jam that they do.
Yeah, they hammer it.
Pickleball, whatever the hell else they have going on that time of year. Outside of the NFL, bowl games are rated, they're cash cows. And it's not just degenerate gamblers and alumni of the schools. I mean, it's kind of fun sitting there watching 5 straight bowls on a Saturday.
Absolutely.
Interesting matchups. Yeah, I like the New Mexico Bowl. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. And so it's just this massive draw. I mean, ESPN makes tons. That's why ESPN owns most of them.
Mm-hmm. Keeps them alive.
And so they're making money. Well, who else is making money in the cities if they're not selling tickets? Ticket sales is part of it. The bowls largely make money based on what? Corporate freaking sponsorships.
Right.
So are you telling me, and you got to be kidding me here, these people are out of their mind. You're telling me, right? Like who name a big time player. Leonard Fournette opted out, I think, of what, the Citrus Bowl. Got to be the number 2 pick in the draft, whatever, for LSU. You're telling me that from a local marketing and branding standpoint, and your corporate sponsors, are right there pouring money into this thing. You don't think they're going to pony up a little more or feel like they're getting their value a little more? If you got like a spokesman for the Florida Citrus Association or Duke's Mayonnaise or whoever for the week that's going to be a high pick in the draft, absolutely you are. And so I think, do you not think that more people are going to tune in and see your branding and get, you're going to, again, give your sponsors what they pay for? If it's not a team that's had half their team opt out, of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think bowl games, if you want to kind of dig up a positive about NIL, and merge that with something that's, fans don't, fans and the public at large, kind of question these days. I don't. I love bowl games, but a lot of people do. A lot of people, they don't, it's like they don't care. You want to make them more special. You want to make them more like the reflective of the regular season. Cut some NIL deals, pay guys bowl bonuses, things like that. But my dream of that died when I read the most recent guidelines from the NCAA. With NIL, you absolutely cannot pay. You can't pay performance bonuses. You can't pay anything like that. And it's unfortunate because I think what bowls are all about, which is marketing and drawing business into a community and all that, and a cash cow for ESPN, that's NIL is exactly what they are. That's exactly what it is. And so yet another, I think, ridiculous statement or rule or guidelines from our friends that in Indianapolis that want to continue to hide behind the cloak of amateurism.
Yeah, well, and that's where they're missing the point in all this, because look, I mean, let's all be honest, right? We're going towards contracts. Everybody should understand that contracts are coming to college athletics, but people also need to understand something with contracts. Contracts come and they protect both sides. Okay, so like in professional sports, all right, you don't get bonuses unless you do this, this, and this. There are performance type bonuses, of course, that you're going to get. We all know that. But then there are also bonuses that are granted to professional players. And I know a lot of these guys who couldn't get them unless they did it. They're participation bonuses. All right. You can't say that I'm playing a 162 game baseball season and play 120 games. And then at the end of the year say, well, I want my $2.5 million. No. And it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter if you got hurt, you pulled a hammy. It doesn't matter if you were on bereavement. It doesn't matter about any of that. At the end of the day, it's cut and dry. You play an X number of games, 90% of your ball games or whatever it is, or 100% or whatever, because some of them do have 100% in there, or you don't get the bonus. And that's just life. Sorry. I'm sorry your Uncle Ted died. I'm sorry that you broke your finger. But it doesn't matter. The bonus was there if you played every single game. And so they're coming. Contracts should be coming. It has to protect everybody. I mean, think about, not to get into another rabbit hole here, though, JC, but eventually all will tie back in together. You think about what college coaches go through all across the country, right? And and they do need to move some of these timelines. And I know that they're working on closing windows for the portal and things of that nature. And I get it. But the fact of the matter is you can still get into the middle of October and get a knock on the door, or as Coach Beamer has said before, I get a call at 2 a.m. and you go, Oh, no, this can't be good. Hey, I just want to let you know that I quit. Oh, okay. Well, if you do that in professional sports, and everybody's been advocating for players for so long, but then people also forgot that, there's actually other people involved, like coaches and ADs and, the rest of the team. And that's fine if you want to do that in the NFL. It's fine if you want to do that in the big leagues or the NBA or wherever. You're not getting paid. All right? You quit. Guess what? Your contract says I don't have to pay you. Okay? So if you bring that to college athletics and all of a sudden you get a guy that walks up and says, well, I'm opting out of the bowl game. Okay? Guess what? You owe us about $25,000 back in scholarship, whatever it is. And now that sounds harsh, and people are going to, they probably won't be happy about that. But they made a commitment to play for you, and then all of a sudden they're not going to play in the most important game of the year, the game that you earned. The rest of the teammates are playing in it. Is that fair? Is it fair when you get into November and you have one of the best players saying, I got the draft coming up. You get that with free agency, right? Well, I'm going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Are these guys quitting at the end of the season to protect themselves? No, they're not. They got to play through it in order to get what's on their contract. So at some point in time, once they get either get the NCAA out of the way, or at least be able to streamline this with actual leadership and guidance on how these things are going to work, you're going to have to sign contracts. And when you go to college, you're going to have to do things to be able to get the things that are owed to you. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what a contract is.
Yeah, I think regarding bowl games, I'm surprised nobody has circumvented the NCAA's rule about, pay for playing games by, especially in the NIL landscape, just saying, okay, we're going to give the entire team X amount of dollars and cut a spot for them. And it's like, nope, we're paying them for their appearance.
That's right.
Paying them for their name, image, and likeness to appear in a commercial for us that's going to air, during the game. And you're not paying them for the game then. You're paying them to be on TV. And
right.
The smart thing would be for the network to join in with the brand sponsor. That way you can increase the dollars for, say, more premier bowl games to get higher position players to do so that you can create enough money as opposed to just letting them walk out of there with a swag bag and a great week in Florida.
Those headphones.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And they're not, they're fun trips, but they're, and the kids
are. Kids love them.
like them. So
they do. And I think a lot of the kids that have opted out over the years, some of them clearly don't feel like they ever missed out on anything. Yeah. They ran off the NFL and made millions of dollars, and that's fine. Okay. But then there is also a group too that, again, it's the small minority that have the loudest voices in pretty much anything anymore. But there is a large group of kids who will tell you, I really wish I didn't quit on my team. And and one of the things too with this that has kind of driven me off the ledge over the years is I understand because of what is at risk. I've never been a guy who has had millions of dollars on the table. As long as basically I stay healthy, in a couple of months, they're going to call my name, and not only has my life changed, but my family's life has changed, and more than likely generations following in our family, their lives have changed as well. So I've never been in that position. So it is really difficult for me to be able to judge those who have made the decision to not play in games like this, especially if you're at a very vulnerable position like quarterback or running back or something like that. Okay. So I get that. And I wholeheartedly mean that. On the other side, though, the opt-out term drives me nuts. And I've been saying it all day because it's the kind way to say it, but this is our show, so we can pretty much say whatever we want to. It's actually called quitting. Like, I'm not playing anymore. Okay. So I'm not playing with you in the game. You're going to get some of your brothers who are going to get on Twitter and Facebook and, oh, I totally understand. Let that man go get his bag and this, that, all the other slang terms that are running around it. Fine. That's cool. They still quit. So, I mean, while we have to accept your decision, you can also accept the fact that we all know that you quit. It is what it is. Doesn't make you a bad person, but you quit to make sure that nothing bad happened to you. Someone earlier mentioned something about insurance policies. That's a great idea. I think that they should all carry. I know Marcus had an insurance policy on himself and it worked out for him. So Like, those are things that people should do. There should be an opportunity for these young men to understand, hey, look, you committed to doing something. We need you to do it, but here's what we're going to do to make sure that you are covered in case. And by the way, it is right, JC, like a millimeter of a % of bad things happen to people. It really isn't as common as people think it is. But if it does happen to you, here's what's going to happen to make sure you're taken care of.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Deebo Samuel opted out, right? I can't blame Deebo for opting out. Deebo
no, I don't.
Finally made it through a season healthy in 2018. Kind of was injured at the start of 16, and then what happened to him against Kentucky in 17 was tragic. Finally makes it through healthy in 18. Stock's never been higher. He just lit up the national champions defense at their place. So I don't blame him. Some of these other guys, I'm like, and a lot of them go to the Pro Bowl. And I think Deebo did too, but I'm just like, well, so you don't want to risk it with college, but you're going to go to the Pro Bowl. I mean, I'm sorry, the Pro Bowl, the Senior Bowl.
The Senior Bowl.
The Senior Bowl, and do that. And that's just as risky. It's an all-star game, so it's even more risky because you're not used to your teammates and all that good stuff. But you're right. Injuries happen very, very a minute amount of the time. I think it's a little bit of like double protectant caution. And then it's a lot of, hey, I've worked hard all season. It's Thanksgiving. I want to take off December.
I'm with you. I don't think this is a one-size-fits-all conversation at all. I really don't. And that's the world we live in, Phil. It's a blanket world. You throw a blanket over any conversation, and everybody underneath that blanket absolutely has to fit the mold of the argument that you're discussing. That's not. I don't believe that. I totally agree with what JC's saying. I think there are instances where people just have. Who was it? JC, are you speaking on this? Or is this one's warning you? We can.
What? No. Rest of my eyes. Hey, if I start
Schubert.
snoring,
you guys had a hell of a day.
I'm falling asleep. I'll snore.
Phil, that means we're not. If the guy who's hosting the show with us is sleeping, I can only imagine.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. I know.
Someone's going to drive.
I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like about the injuries.
But I mean,
stuff.
Like, who was it last year? Was it Cam last year that had actually been dealing with a nagging injury? And I can't remember. No, it wasn't. It was Darius Rush. Darius Rush had been dealing with some things and finally got to a point where he felt healthy and did not want to risk it. I get it. That's cool, man. That's cool. All right. And Darius Rush is an outstanding kid, by the way. Like, one of the coolest kids ever, and his family's unbelievable. But to your point, though, and this is where the one-size-fits-all blanket covering conversation doesn't work, there are a lot of kids out there, regardless of what they say on social media, right? Regardless of what the media wants to tell you, and regardless of what the keyboard warriors and the Twitter heroes want to say in their defense, even though they don't know them, they don't feel like playing. They're done.
Yeah.
But they're opting out, quote, to make sure that they can train for the combine. But it's bullcrap.
Yeah, I don't know. And it is quitting. I mean, at the very most basic element of it is quitting. I mean, and it's, I don't know. It's like, we have a rule in my house, right? So the girls are both active in athletics. And the rule at home is, if you sign up for a season, you complete the season, period. Whatever it looks like. If you sign up for it and start on day one, you complete it because you owe it to your team. And it's just a different mentality. Now, obviously, my girls aren't playing for, the potential of millions of dollars at the end of the season. And if they're injured, that's a completely different set of circumstances.
Right.
But, if you're healthy and you commit at the beginning of this season to be on this team and be a part of it, you go out there and every time you're asked to give, what you got, you give everything you got and you play for your team. and
this is a media narrative too. Look, so that's a good deal, Phil. By the way, I saw some film of Stella playing on Facebook.
Some basketball, yeah.
She's aggressive. Yeah, she's a really good defender, man.
Yeah, she's a tenacious defender, man.
I think this is the media too, because JB hit the nail on the head. It's like, I'm tired of playing. I don't want to play anymore. The season's over. I'm tired. I don't want to go back and practice 2 weeks to do it. The media, most of those guys, I'm convinced, don't even like college football. I don't know why they cover it. They're not interested in going to Boise for in mid-December around Christmas. Goodness gracious, what kind of Premier League soccer's on during that time of the year? And they may not be able to get up and hang with their buddies and get their pint and watch their team. But look, they don't like the bowls, just like they don't like coaches' salaries and a lot of things about the game. They don't like. I'm convinced they hate the fans that read their stuff, and so they made this push. Oh, bing, these bowl games are meaningless. They're meaningless. They're meaningless. Nobody's listening. Oh, well, what about the players? And they've turned a lot of times, as is the case with other stuff, they've turned players into victims to push their own private agenda. So that's the kind of deal there. And they kept pushing it. And then once Leonard Fournette did it, I was like, it's going to expand. There was like 2 or 3 guys that opted out the first time. The next thing we're watching Opt-Out City. And same thing they did during the pandemic. I mean, I get it in those circumstances. But, there are a lot of guys that opted out. Like at LSU, poor Coach O, one of their really good receivers was coming back. Pandemic hit. He had people in his ear. He just took the whole thing off. Was it Jamar Chase? I don't remember which one it was. I get it. I get it. I do think, okay, you want to be fair, to these guys. I think some sort of NIL or money, financial compensation would be good. It'd be healthy for the bowls and would help the bowls. So anyway, by the way, somebody asked about Ryan Holinsky coming back.
What?
That's somebody how does Cinderella, by the way, who has a great sense of humor, but people take him seriously sometimes because he does at times have a good perspective on things and all that. And, claim, their whole deal is that for some reason they have inside information. This is the second time we have to deal with something like this. He tweets out, Holinsky's coming back. And he's joking, right? It's a joke. It's funny, I guess. And people now have taken it and run with it. So, no, Ryan Holinsky's there's no designs on Ryan Holinsky coming back to South Carolina. I'd be above stunned. And if he came back, he'd be 7th string.
Right, yeah.
And no chance of getting to 6. He ain't getting to 6. I don't know. I don't.
He'd be behind DeCarrion Joyner, who's the running back.
He'd be about Taka Hemingway.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ty
Kroger.
Anyway, no, he's not. I doubt he's coming back.
But
I doubt he'll come back to be a grad assistant. Now, a lot of stuff have happened with the old staff. So I don't know what his relationship's like with Beamer and company. But
see, I heard the coming back. I interpreted that a different way in that he was going back. He's going to remain, at Northwestern. Coming back to Northwestern.
Nah, he tweeted coming back to South Carolina. So.
South Carolina. Okay, so I didn't see that one. Yeah, I've seen other ones. Maybe they were just
Quattro's right. And I'm proud of the guy. I've known him for years, and he's funny, and he got a job doing some freelance baseball coverage. So he's living his dream. It's just kind of funny. The second time he's been joking about something, I get asked about it. So. Cam Johnson, I agree with you. I'm just not going to repeat that right now. So Anyway, we got to get a break. I got 2 things to say. I got to say something about the media on yesterday's conversation, and I've got a brief thing I want to say about the NIL conversation we had yesterday as well.
Sounds good. We are built by thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com, where you can build your dream home for as low as $160. Any of you that are looking to build a home, I promise you, check them out first before you go anywhere else. That's why they've been named one of the nation's best builders, thebarndominiumco.com. Be right back. Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston!
Bam, bam, bam. 12:32 on Krispy Kreme's birthday. Happy birthday to Krispy Kreme and the Hot and Nows or Hot and Ready's. Is it Hot and No, Hot and Ready's Little Caesars.
Yes, Hot and Now. That's the donuts.
Hot Now is.
Oh yeah,
we got to get that straight. You don't want to be walking into Krispy Kreme asking for Hot and Ready and get you a damn pepperoni pizza served up.
Well, only one of those companies when they actually turn their sign on and it's actually true. Because, you know, when's the last time you walked into a Little Caesars and actually got what you wanted when it was supposedly hot and ready?
It was ready.
It's ready, but it may not be pepperoni, maybe cheese and a couple of green peppers and some sausage.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And a couple of pieces of crazy bread on top of it, like as filling.
Man, I've learned to appreciate Little Caesars though, because having twin little girls when you have a birthday party, you get 10 pizzas for like $60. It's a steal.
Yeah. Although they charge extra for the crazy sauce now.
Do they?
Nice.
Yeah.
The best thing they've got.
I know, crazy bread, but now it's like you can't get the sauce unless you pay like an extra $1. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
All right, so yesterday we were talking about got a little note from somebody that watches the podcast, actually works at the AJC. It was a nice diplomatic note, and he made the point that people are upset enough in Georgia about this thing to where they've had to call corporate security a couple of times because of the threat on this writer. And so I called him, I said he was a sociopath, right? What I meant by that was sociopathic people roll through life.
I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. I need you to start over. You got a note from somebody at the AJC yesterday about the conversation we had about their piece on Georgia football.
This person's a Gamecock fan that watches our show religiously.
Okay.
I was not aware.
Certainly appreciate that.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm following along here. And And you're explaining that in the note that he gave you that the AJC had to bring security.
That my comments may raise the temperature. I don't know how they will in the South Carolina market. I know Blind Squirrel was in here. First of all, I want to say I take nothing back as far as the criticism of the writer or the paper. And I meant every word of it. I probably crossed a little bit of a line when I said sociopath, and I wanted to explain what I meant by it because a lot of people don't know. Sociopathic people roll through life without regard for the feelings of others because they have zero empathy. Okay. And there's all kinds of sociopaths. They're not all, Patrick Bateman. I mean, he may have been a psychopath, but there's a difference there too. There's people that I know that are sociopaths. They're just numb to it. And that's where that was the analogy I was using with that. I'm not meaning to say this guy deserves to be like put in jail or, I'm not Ferdinand Marcos from the 80s from the Philippines, right? I'm not a dictator. Bolivar, I'm not Bolivar. I will arrest the journalist, that's not me. So I thought, and I originally, pointed out that, hey, because this person's a good man. I was like, I originally pointed out, well, good people tell the truth. And I didn't feel like anything in that article was truthful, so to speak. I thought it had facts, and the facts were selectively edited to produce a narrative, which is basically the same as having an AI deepfake. And I think that's morally wrong and reprehensible in a lot of ways. However, I do take back the sociopath comment. I was trying to make an analogy, and the last thing I would ever want to do is anything I say, and really anything he says either. There's no sense in going to violence and trying to, scaring this guy.
Absolutely not.
He's just bad at his job, and not good at what he does or misguided or whatever. So I apologize for that. I wanted to apologize, and I certainly apologize if anybody, and I doubt this is the case, but if anybody did catch my comments and they were like, JC's like I was Braveheart saying charge or, Viva la Revolution or whatever. I don't know. I would never, I could be passionate about something without wanting to inflict physical harm on someone or someone they love or their coworkers or anything like that. So I wanted to say, hey, I probably went right up the line there. And I do have a great deal of empathy because I'm not a sociopath for the folks at the AJC if they are scared about this. I mean, I thought it was bad. I thought they deserved to be called out. Do I think the building needs to be burnt down? No. That's what sociopaths do. People that are upset with this should be fair-minded people. So wanted to just kind of clarify that. Like I said, I take nothing back as far as my criticism of it and criticism of the writer. And, the fact, my opinion is he's not very good at his job and, was pushing an agenda. That said, you call somebody a sociopath, that means different things to different people. And I would hate to anything I say to give a crazy person a green light to go cause any harm. So there you go.
Well,
just want to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look,
I'm a human being, right?
No, nobody, and that's we're in this wild and wacky world where, these people feel like they don't like something, they have to quote burn it down or hurt somebody. I always love when I see the comments of, oh, if this happens, we riot. No, why? What do you do? So you're going to destroy somebody's property, and that's going to make you feel better? I mean, come on. But I guess my only follow-up question, from whomever that would be is, is the AJC collectively with any, we're not the only show on the planet, right? I'm assuming there's thousands more out there that, and probably plenty of them have discussed this in greater tone than we have, most notably some Georgia programming. Have they been in communication with them? And I'm not in defense mode. I'm just trying to understand. Look, Georgia's got beef with them. They wrote an article. The headline was pretty poor. I don't know what the truth is in all of this. Quite frankly, don't really care. I care about the people that have been affected. But if the AJC is reaching out, wanting to, I'm just confused.
This was somebody that worked there. It was one of that. I guess his title is editor. And look, having 20 years ago worked in a newsroom in Georgia for a newspaper, unlike our state that refuses to hire South Carolina journalism graduates, they've done a better job lately. But the state used to, they'd rather go get some dude from Missouri or something. UGA is a big journalism school. They hire a lot of Georgia grads. And so this guy's a Gamecock. And so having lived that life, I was on the internet in 2003, and that kind of laid the groundwork for me to start Big Spur and all that, soaking up any kind of Gamecock information I could. And so it's logical. So to me, I took it like this, JB. I took it as a listener of ours that happened to work inside the AJC that wanted to shed some light on the situation. Okay. And then suddenly disagree with me. I don't, if it had been one of the editors at the AJC that just kind of, I doubt I would have had any reflection time at all. But, as somebody that listens to this show that kind of had a different point of view, and we always like to respect those, right?
Sure. Absolutely. I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Yeah, I'm not backing off anything. I'm backing off of my language, which at times can get harsh,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that. So, do we have another break, or are we done?
No, we got to go. We got one more.
Yeah, we still got one more to hit, but and I agree with Quantrell there. Hey, look, not there doesn't have to be one side that's right and one side that's wrong. Both sides can be right or both sides can be wrong, and that's the nature of the beast sometimes.
The article to me, the speeding thing didn't get me. It was the Jarrett situation where they were like insinuating that Georgia should have kicked him off, and he was. I mean, you're really tarnishing a young man's reputation when you talk about sexual assault and things like that these days, and acting.
Get it right.
The speeding thing needed to be addressed, but then you take it a step further and try to make it look like Georgia's got a bunch of women abusers over there, which nowadays everybody wants to jump to. A lot of people do want to jump to that conclusion because of recent movements and stuff. To me, that screams ideology and a narrative, and not investigative journalism, because clearly when you read the police reports and stuff, they were misunderstanding. Was there inappropriate behavior? Yes. And the kids that had more inappropriate behavior got dismissed immediately. But the one kid that stayed on, you read the report and it's kind of a he said, she said, both parties kind of did some things.
Well, but in addition to that, though, we live in a headline world. Okay, yeah. It's less people. This is fact. I don't know what the percentage is, but we all know this is fact. However many thousand people, 5,000-6,000 people that watch and listen to us today, we unanimously can agree on this. It is a very low number of people in the scroll world that we're in that go beyond the headline anymore. Every so often you click on it. That's why these social media companies have come up with this idea over the last couple of years. Instead of retweeting, would you like to read this article first? These little things that pop up. But we're in a headline world, and a lot of people don't care to do that. But the headline was UGA football program rallies when players accused of abusing women, essentially saying the entire football program says, oh, you abused a woman, or you were accused of it, we got your back, which that's just false. It's not true. And that's where all this started. Like the headlines are what get people.
And that got me, because I was just sitting there thinking, remember that time Mark Richt sent his entire team on the field after the first touchdown against Florida. They actually won the game.
Yeah.
For the first time in the rigged era, or one of the first. But you remember we did that. That's the visual I got. Like, insinuating that although there's like a woman that's been abused in the middle of the Georgia teams. And look, headline writers are more idiotic sometimes than writers. Writers don't write their own headlines.
Right.
What got me with the writer was when UGA had the rebuttal, clearly selective editing, clearly with the quotes, clearly selective facts. And I said, well, you got an unfortunate. I mean, that's it's hard to prove slander these days, but to me, that's intent to slander, intent to push a narrative which may or may not be true, and I don't think that's investigative journalism. So
at the end of the day, anybody that's been affected by any of the crimes or misconduct is really what matters at the end of the day, and preventing that.
Macadino, I agree with you on the speeding thing. That's a different story. I thought they needed to take care of that a long time ago. If you're talking about Georgia, but
it's awful.
It was bad. And look, are these? Does drag racing and speeding make you a criminal? No. I mean, we're living in a world where there's been how many Fast and Furiouses? 12, 13. That, to me, that's a kid thing that should have been stopped. Some adult should have put a stop to it, and Athens is a terrible place to go drag racing. Lincoln, Nebraska, a few miles outside of town. Wyoming, Jamie, certain parts, nice and flat. Arizona, not Athens. Anybody's been to Athens, it's a hilly, creaky, curvy little setup. That's terrible. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Just 12:45, our final timeout, and we'll be right back on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
If you're in the upstate of South,
golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter @MayorTaylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly. You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Bikes are Charleston! Electric Bikes of Charleston! Electric Bikes of Charleston! Electric Bikes of Charleston! Bikes of Charleston!
Phil, is it football season yet?
Oh man, you know what? Yeah, it is.
Is it? Well, should we just deem it?
Baseball's over, so yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
All right. So tomorrow,
spot the damn ball. It's a little early for that, but I'm ready.
Nah, we'll start looking. We'll start previewing the North Carolina game tomorrow for the Gamecocks, and we'll just preview it every day until September 1st.
Today we're going to look at North Carolina's punter.
You know what? You can get away with that anymore. Absolutely.
When I used to be on 3 hours with Corey Miller on the box, the summer of 08. Never looked forward to a season over no more than that. We'd be in the summer, Corey go on vacation or something. This is 3 hours, Columbia Sports Talk Radio on a caller-driven show. Nobody's calling, nobody's listening. Imagine having to fill that content.
Yeah, I had to do that.
Jamie's living that life. Living that life.
Well, we got it wasn't the afternoons, like when I had 12 to 3 on ESPN. That was pretty easy. It was the prior to when I had the 6 to 9 on Sports Radio 1450, and my partner, who is an elite level host, who is in a major market now. He just sometimes he just wasn't there, didn't show up, and those would be tough mornings. I put it that way, where you're going, okay, well, I've got one guest, I have 3 hours, so, and I'm not a shock jock guy, right? There are shock jock guys who they want to say something to get you all ruffled, so you'll call in and you can argue.
Just rolls, yeah.
I didn't want to. I'm not that. I just wanted to talk sports and talk ball. So those would be tough mornings when you're doing that, and with a board and 10,000 buttons and producing your own show. That was
I had to run the board too, so that sucked. The dump button, One time people don't understand. Called in, and he called me a fat F. And I didn't hit the dump button in time. And I was like, probably am. Anyway, I want to say this real quick about NIL. I know we talked a lot. It's all over the Big Spur. It's July. There's not a lot going on. So it's a good time to address it. I want to say this. I understand the narrative out there about it, because in the headlines, you see things like high school quarterback, doesn't go to Florida because he's promised $13 million, or your school loses a guy like Jordan Addison or Marshawn Lloyd at Southern Cal, where their NIL is tight, and you kind of feel like everybody's chasing the money. And there's stuff like that goes on, and I think bottom line is you got to get behind it to compete, and we've said that. But I want to tell you something a little different. And you have to keep in mind, NIL touches multiple sports, not just football. And also, there's 85 kids on that football roster. Are all in full scholarship, no doubt. And that's nice and all that good stuff. But I just want to say, in the year I've had Carolina Rise, from my perspective, let me tell you where some of the deals, and there are deals, and they have to work and they have to pay taxes on this money. They have to do tasks, whether it's promotion or whatever. Let's be clear, this is not charity, right? But let me tell you what some of these deals have gone for. A player's mom was about to get her power cut off at Christmas time. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sorry. Another player couldn't get home for Christmas.
Car
would have been in the dorm in Columbia. 3 catastrophic car repairs, and no backup. There's the dealerships kind of like to work with the big time guys. And these guys are starters. They're not, they're not backups. They're not bench warmers. I had that one kid's mom died.
Yeah. Yep.
Had to get back. Maybe needed a suit or something for it. Whole world devastated. That's just football. In basketball, at least one of the kids, the money he got went to invest in land that will provide his family with generational wealth. At the time, that's what that money didn't go towards an SUV or anything like that. the baseball kids aren't even on full scholarship, guys. The ones that, and I love the passionate fan base at Carolina for baseball. JB, you've played, and you'd agree. But fans yell at them and boo them and cheer them or whatever, just like they do football and all that. And a lot of these guys are out there playing because they love the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that money for them is no different than the money you give the Gamecock Club for scholarships, because these guys, unfortunately, because the NCAA don't have full scholarships. It's actually costing them money to go out there and put on the uniform and try to win baseball games for your university and their university.
Yeah, it's called debt.
And there's about 15 of those guys. There's some deals we cut over the summer for summer school. They have to pay for that too. 11.7 scholarships on a roster full of 40 people doesn't go very far. It's not the coach's fault at all. But the one student athlete that's probably taken the bull by the horns the most in NIL is DeCarrion Joyner. You know what DeCarrion does with that money?
Pays for his child.
Takes care of his wife and his little girl.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional here, but I understand that narrative because that's what everybody pushes, and the media is out there talking about millions of dollars and how they deserve this, that, and they do. But NIL, as sort of we know it, and I get a lot of gratitude out of this. I do this because I love the University of South Carolina, but I also believe there's a strong human element to it. A lot of times these guys aren't all on easy street. And you'd be surprised at sort of where a lot of those of you that support it, where a lot of your hard-earned money goes. It goes not only to facilitate winning and championships and all that, but it goes to help human beings who are trying to get somewhere in life, who hit the ultimate roadblocks like we always do, like all of us do. And so I just wanted to point that out because I think a lot of people have this misunderstanding that it's just all about making everybody rich and buying Mercedeses and sports cars and going to the strip club or whatever college kids do when they got money. But I wanted to kind of share that personally, that my experience is 85% of it goes for something that is a need. And you talk with anybody at any championship level program that's played any championship level program, and not everybody's experience is great everywhere, right? The one common thread that you hear about your Alabamas and Georgias and, dare I say, Clemson's through time, way before NIL. And I always kind of maybe thought they were talking about facilities or, cafeteria food, academic, is, hey, they take care of their players. At Alabama, at Auburn, at Georgia, wherever. And kind of living this and seeing the human side of it and the things that do arise and the things that Rise has had to take care of, and fine. And like I said, you would get a return on it, and all that. It's no big deal. It's not charity. But I wanted to point that out and, just let you guys know that there is a human side to it. And that it's just not all about, what's that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio? It goes, hey, I know guac is extra. It ain't just about that. It's especially when with what we've done in football and baseball, you're actually helping kids and their lives and especially, baseball, helping to get through school, man. Books are expensive. I know I sold a lot of mine back if I knew I didn't need it. Right. So just want to point that out.
CarolinaRiseMembers.com if you would like to be a part of, today at least, the solution to help a lot of these young men. Tomorrow is Friday. Thank God. And then we get into the week.
Nice. We made
it.
Cam, I expect Dylan Stewart to announce before the season.
I'm sorry, say that again. You expect Dylan Stewart to what, JC?
I do expect Dylan Stewart to announce before the season.
Yes.
I don't know about before July is out, but I expect it to be before the season. One way or the other.
Keelan Adams will be that video will be live in just a couple of minutes. He'll be announcing his destination, as we have much discussed around here right now. It seems like Virginia Tech is where he will at least head. Carolina, there was a question in here earlier. They will not stop recruiting him. They will continue to recruit Keelan Adams, and you just never know. So stay tuned. JC, by the way, with an update and on Malcolm Ziegler, that's not over. Carolina is, like I said, it's the summer, guys. Give it time. They'll get it worked out.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to Chris Phillips for jumping in and joining us earlier. Thanks, as always, to Mad Dog Mullinax for his hard work, and JC Schubert, who, by the way, is getting his jersey fixed. We'll try this again when he gets back.
Click that in to get the old name.
Yeah, we'll try that again. We'll try that whole ordeal again. He'll get up, he'll walk off screen, he'll come back, he'll turn around, and we'll see if the reveal meets expectations this time. Have a wonderful and thirsty Thursday afternoons inside the Gamecocks. The show from the Sinorama Studios back tomorrow at 11.